Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Thomas, and I will be your host for this series of webinars that that we're going to do, and they are with respect to the great sandwich wall in precast detailing and, of course, production and transport planning. In the first webinar, we are going to discuss and look into the sandwich wall. We look into the most common things that that they are creating issues when it comes to our design department, and then we will try and solve them accordingly. Of course, small hint: we are going to use impact design for this purpose. I have made a little presentation here, nothing special, just to get you into what we're going to see today and why this webinar um, became a thing and why we thought about, you know what, we always show you the software, we always show you some workflows, we always show you the new features and the new updates. Why if we just focus on the basics, right? Why if we just look into why the customer actually needs uh, this type of software to help them improve their efficiency? Yes, so if I press here, you will see that I have listed some of the common issues that comes with the sandwich wall detailing, and of course the fragmented workflow challenges. A lot of time, a lot of you, even though you want to implement 3D, let's say BIM software, you find yourselves drawing in 2D, and you do a lot of manual checks. The drawings that they are leaving, going to the customer's office for approval, they are also in 2D, and there are a lot of coordination risks, a lot of different plans, elevations, shop drawings, going from one place to another, and they all needs to be updated at all times, right? Of course, we all know that there is always going to be late changes and errors. And of course, we want something that basically, with a small little change of a value, of an index, of something that will affect our sub-drawings, then we want this to also be applied to our floor plans and, of course, our elevation drawings, right? And that's what we are going to discuss in this webinar. Yes, again, this is just a follow-up on where the time is usually lost. We are losing a lot of time, of course, in actually creating the drawing outputs. Of course, a lot of times we need to do a lot of rework. As I mentioned before, the 3D model synchronization is not really easy to achieve through many different software. And of course, we need to have a quality indicator of our workflow. And therefore, great data, handle it into the software, which will allow us to go into the next step, which will be the webinar series, the webinar two of this series. That will, of course, allow us to see, when we have all this data, when we have created a model, that it is this well made. How are we going to use this data for our production and transport planning, of course? Here, I'm not going to take a lot of your time. This is not a webinar where I'm going to show you um, new features or something. I'm going to go into the basics. We will look directly into the progressive modeling steps. How do we model the sandwich walls? How we handle the changes efficiently? How this affects, how this helps us when it comes to error reduction and consistency. And of course, as I said in the beginning, this will go through. We will go through with impact design, of course. So yeah, I have created a little project here. I have created a project that is called Webinar Series 01, and then we will go and we look into our project manager. This is, of course, the project manager of Impact. This is where we create every project. that we want. And in this case, our project is empty. Here we have our drawings and the floor plans, and this is necessary steps in order to activate the connection to Impact Design, which is of course, in cases it is an expansion to AutoCAD 3D, BricsCAD 3D, or Revit. And in our case, I'm going to show you, of course, the best option that we have, which is the AutoCAD 3D version. I have created my general arrangement drawings. This is floor 1, building 1, and this is the floors that I have already pre-created inside the building. This is just a test project. This is just a project that we usually show when we present the software. Of course, this can be adjusted to your own needs, to your own specifications, and it can be, of course, used in many different cases, like the more than 1,000 users that we have when it comes to the design software. So I will just double click, and then that means that the AutoCAD will be activated. You might know the main tools for AutoCAD. And I know in today's business, as you can see, we have 2026, right? Like almost 2027. And I know that sometimes looking into CAD systems, into CAD software, thinking about, okay, this is a forbidden word. We have to go to Revit, or we have to look into other BIM software in that sense. But that's the whole point of it. We actually here, we can make something simple, something everybody knows, something that you don't really need a great implementation or new knowledge about learning a specific software, that we can translate, modify this great piece of software into an actual BIM coordination software. So here we'll create our model, and the model is going to be used further into this, and you are not going to miss any details. You will be able to have your custom materials, your inserts, your reinforcement, your openings, your windows, the number of details, everything will be handled through the same database, and you will be very easily managed, right? So with no further ado, as I said, Impact is some of those expansion modules that you see here. What I'm going to do now is, of course, I will create some walls. This is very, very easy to do. And what I usually want to do here is basically go to a viewport, um, two vertical configurations. Why? Because I want you to see that when I actually draw something here and do that, then that also applies in the same drawing, that it is, even though I draw in 2D, in theory, I create a 3D model, a model with entities, a model with data that we are going to use, right? And again, this is not so much about the mistakes. Of course, I have to do this introduction so you all know that we create some elements. So what I have done here, I have done something smart, something that you can do if you are an experienced user like myself. I have created a polyline around my building, and I know that my sandwich walls will be my external walls. And in order to create multiple walls very quickly, I can use this function here, which will allow me to draw multiple sandwich walls. I will select my 3-layer wall, 2 concrete, inner and outer panel, insulation, of course. Needless to say that we can always have 3 different layers in a sandwich wall, and you can select any type of material that you would like. And of course, a lot of other information inside the definition that we are not going to go through now, because this is not the purpose of this webinar. I will press OK. I will select my definition. Then the software will ask me to specify the polyline or points or windows and so on and so forth. I will select my polyline. I will not erase the polyline. I will keep it. And then I will make the cap to be 20 millimeters. I will select an end cap. An end cap is an edge detail in between walls connector. Say OK. And then I will select all verticities. It will split the walls in the corners. And then manually, I will go and select my grid lines and split the walls where the grid lines tell me to do. This job, for an experienced user, it takes not more than a minute. Again, now we're being cautious. We don't want to create any issues. And then we say enter and say apply. And then if you focus on the right side of your screen, you will be able to see that the walls are being created in full 3D. What do the walls include right now? The walls include automatic lifters, edge details, connections between the different walls, and bracings. These are the main things that we can create automatically when we apply a definition in Impact. Of course, this is something that you can create with your own software, right? You can create lines and polylines, and this is fair game. If you have your own database, you can also do all these things. So this doesn't handle of things that we are going to, how we create the walls or all this type of things. Everybody, every software, every person has its own way of creating it. Of course, I believe personally that this is a great way of working, and it has been proven that it saves a lot of time when it comes to detailing a lot of precast type of elements. Well, now you have to work and start working around where or how can I connect my walls. Of course, again, I'm a little bit smart, so I have predefined and I have pre-created some joins here that they are going to connect my edges, and I'm going to select this function called connect wall and say connect walls, add my joint. This is my pre-specified join. It will be with welding plates because we do not use wire loops in Sweden, let's say, and we will say OK. And now you see here, if you look closely, if I say apply, this is the join that will be applied. If I say next, then the software automatically will expand this wall and make this wall closer. Of course, this is already, it's you who decides where, how you want to make the connection applicable to your walls. I will say apply, update all, and then the joints have been created. I can go through and show you a little bit here. You cannot see the casting materials or the inserts, how you call them in your language. You cannot see them properly. Why? Because this is just a wall that it is created in a wireframe mode. And why is that? That is because when I have a heavy model, I want us to have a model that doesn't have all the details visible into your screen, so you save time and data, so it doesn't have to take so much time to update, right? But in our case here, because we will not have a lot of model, we can take this presentation object and we can make it into a solid. Then you will be able to see that all the casting materials added to your wall, they are in full 3D, and basically we fulfill the how do you call it, the need, or we fulfill the criteria for being into a BIM model with 3D data and 3D insertions and everything, you know, that will be also handled through different or of course network users and so on and so forth, that people will be able to communicate through the same database, right? So having done that, of course, we can continue and going to connect the edges throughout. But I have also made another little smart thing in the software, again, just so we don't spend a lot of time modeling. And I will just apply a template. I'll just apply custom material template. I will select the walls that I want to select, and then I will select my plate. I will say OK, and then you see that in a very simple and split second, the casting materials have been applied into the straight corners. The last corner here, we will just use the same command. Corners is easier to use the joint because we can, as you saw, why is it so easy? Because now I can say next and then make this wall bigger, make this wall smaller, and of course apply the casting materials that I have predefined in my other joint. So we have consistency throughout the model, things that we can actually save us time when we create our database, right? So you see here how the software recognized by itself very quickly, changed the custom material here in the edge, and created the wall bigger, made this shorter, and made the connection with, of course, the 20 millimeter distance that I have decided that should be the distance between my walls. Now looking into the walls, I have created, of course, a little layout. The layout here doesn't mean anything. Instead of creating one wall, I have just created multiple, so you can see a little bit how it works. And also I can use this for my webinar in episode 2, where we're going to discuss about the production planning. It's difficult to explain the advantages of production planning when we're using only one wall, while we can actually use multiple, right? So in my case here, you can see now I have a solid wall, or let's say a sandwich wall with its looks pretty solid. Now I need to add an opening, right? And how I can do that? I can easily do that using that draw opening. I will select my wall, and then you will see that this is the window that the floor plan tells me to add, and this is the window I'm going to add. The base elevation starts directly from the floor. I can add it from 0, I can add it from 15, I can add it on the top of the slab, and of course I can define where I want this to end. Here, however, it is a little bit difficult to, for example, go, and when you're in a 3D model, then it's difficult to snap and know exactly where you are in the model. And this is one of the inconsistencies that I was talking before, right? It's easy to make mistakes when you are working in a 3D space. In my case here, I'm not going to press anything. I will just say OK, and then I'm going to add my window on the position that I was supposed to be at. Yeah, and then there. Now, of course, the wall, it has been added to the wall, but it has not been really added to the wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an extra step and say add all, yes, exit, and that will basically make sure that the element is added to the wall. Well, this is just how we can add a window, and of course we can add multiple windows, we can add multiple things here, but again, this is not how I usually do things, because here it's really nice to do things, but in the 3D view it's very difficult to snap, it's difficult to fix things. So what I'm going to show you now is how we can connect elevation view and of course the let's say the shop drawing view. So here the only thing I'm going to do is double click, go to my properties, and show you also how easy it is. So here this is where we handle the end caps on the left and the right side, and here on the top we can also try and see if we can add an end cap that will also be for the slab that is going to sit in here. So it's easy. You have predefined your end caps, you have predefined your definitions, and then you can just press OK, and that will also update the. You can see how it updates the 3D view of the wall. So what I'm going to do now is, of course, impact, and maybe I didn't mention that before, but impact has a 3-stage, let's say, 3 stages where we work. We draw, we edit, and then we save. If we do not save, then we do not get the data into the database. Until we save, the data is flexible. The data exists only in this drawing in AutoCAD. But what we want is we want this to not be just one drawing or connected to one drawing. That's what we want to save, right? We want it to be interconnected with many other drawings. That's where we will save the time and the money. So what I'm going to do is say save all. I will select all, just to again have reference points. I will start with W01, FW1, and that will save the walls randomly. For me, this is not the important thing, how to name the walls right now, but again, look into the details and the specifics of the detailing. Yes, so now everything has a has a name, and if you look into it here, you will be able to see how it looks in the 3D modeling space. Yeah, this is how the walls look, and this is how they are. You can see the insulation layer that is being drawn with white. You can see the gray, and you can also see the details of the end caps around the window and my around my wall. Of course, around the window you cannot see it because I have not activated these end caps in openings, which of course again um, gives a better idea in my 3D modeling how these things look. However, now this is just the initial stage of the modeling. Right now we have to go into the details, and the detail tells me that if I want to fix things in those walls, then I either have to work the shop drawing or I have to work in the elevation. First, I'm going to create an elevation, and the elevation line here, I will create a new elevation line, call it north. You can add the description. It's up to you. I will pick a reference point, and my reference point will be from here all the way to here, and that will be my reference point. I will say OK, and you will be able to see that this is the elevation. Now I'm going to edit all of my walls on this side. I will double click on them, we'll go to the properties, and I will add them to the north elevation line. I will say OK. The software will remember the selection, press update to make sure that everything is fine, and then I will go into impact and generate an elevation drawing. I have already created one. I'll double click on it, then the elevation drawing will open, and that will, of course, that has an XREF that it is not really important now. I can easily unload this, so we can be free of the XREF of this training material, and now I can just generate my my north elevation, say OK. I can just select the place, and then in theory I'm expecting the walls to be coming in. I can also draw the dimensions. You can select elevation line, and you can say opening size, walls. You can see this, and you can also add the total length and say OK, and you can specify the point of this, and you can easily see the dimensions of the walls and how they look. So now I have made very quickly an elevation drawing for the walls that they are here. And what I'm going to do also is create the shop drawing of this wall. Again, this is all technicalities. This is all happening in Impact. There is a specific method for doing all these things, and I think we have been very clear and very updated with our materials, explaining those things in detail, how easy it is to make those. Right now, the only thing I want to do is just generate the shop drawing, open, and then have this view of a shop drawing inside my database. And this is where the magic happens. This is what I said before, that I want this to be somewhere else. I want this to be moved. Of course, this blue dot here represents the center of gravity. The center of gravity is very important for a lot of our customers. For some of you, it might not be important. Then you can just, it's a matter of settings and setups, how we delete those. See here, the plate is from 400, the other plate is for 600, and now we can just make adjustments and do more things that will help us. Last minute revision, we talk about this. It comes in and you are standing here, you have your whole model ready. It's right here, right? You have your whole model ready, and out of nowhere, everything is finished. Most of the drawings are approved. Out of nowhere, you come and you say this window needs to be split in two, and you're standing there. You're just like, uh, what can I do now, right? Like now I have to fix it here. Now I'm going to fix it here, and of course, nonetheless, I have to fix it here. So, what is the easiest way to do this? I will, uh, I will be honest with you. You can select yourselves. For me, the easiest way right now would be to take this window here, just delete it in the shop drawing, right? And then I'm going to add two new windows that they are going to represent smaller windows or something that they are going to represent another. And I will take this one, and just this is an example, right? And this is doesn't have to be. And you can see here also on the right, where am I placing? What are the dimensions, right? Where exactly in the space I'm going to place it. So I want to place one here on the 1710 or something, right? And then I'm going to place this also here, the same elevation. See, you cannot make a mistake here. You can also write what you want, and you place those two windows. So the only thing you have to do now is basically press a button here, meaning save. The dimensions will adjust. You don't have to do any manual work in the dimensions. So the dimensions will adjust just by clicking this MTO button. The changes of the wall will be significant now, right? It's basically we took away a window and we created two smaller windows inside the definition. Everything right now would look as it was before. Here it is like that. Here it's like that. So now your work would have been to come in here, find this wall, and you're just like, oh no, I have to make it a solid. I have to take it away, measure the exact positions, and then send it to the customer. However, here you just need to press a button, and the button is update. Say finish, the wall automatically translates to those two small windows. The same with elevation. Update elevation, finish, and then this, you can also update dimension. And you see here, this is measured to the exact position that the elevation is measured. For me, there is, I have been working for this with this software for, or in the precast industry, let's say for 10 years almost, and I have not really see something that makes me as excited when I saw this feature, because in the end, when we get to the down to the grid of it, and everything is connected. And now here we saw three different drawings, and then we just did that. And because it is AutoCAD, because it is that you can select this custom material and this custom material and say copy, just using the command copy, and then move it 400 up and say enter, and then you can just again empty all the custom material only, and the only thing, yes, so we can get the new custom material dimension. You see here 600, 400, and then it splits, and then this will automatically apply here, just the press of a button, right? Yes, and this will apply also here, and you will be able to see your custom materials in full 3D in everything. So what I want to get you out of this is that you can actually connect everything, and everything be interconnected between the between the different walls, and of course reach to the point where your subdrawing basically looks like that. You have your opening, you have your command, you have your definition. You see how it looks here, and you get all the things that you want to get and you want to save and you want to work with when it comes to impact. Of course, adding the reinforcement and all these type of things. Of course, here we will need to regenerate the template of the reinforcement if we want to be correct after the changes we did. And that's, of course, very fair because, of course, the reinforcement needs to also be updated after the geometry has been updated, right? So all these things, of course, are more detailed work, how it works into Impact. I want you to know that when you're here and you're working through your model, this still looks like that. That might scare you, but for me, it's just the matter of using one button called Update Will, which represent the new view of my wall into the database just with a press of a button. And that's why a lot of times we say with a press of a button and with a press of a button, but in reality, with a press of a button, you can make changes. And now, of course, needless to say, you can make the changes um, in the floor plan and then just regenerate the subdrawing or generate the subdrawing again, or you can do the updates. And many of you will might have the question, okay, how does this work? If I work in SW1, can anybody else go and do something on the floor plan or on the elevation or something? Now I'm going to say, okay, I will take this and this because I made a mistake and I will just move them. The moment I move them, the moment I generate, you know, a new um, a new movement here, then that's where let's say that's where everything gets locked inside this wall. If I want to go to my floor plan now and try to double click and look into the properties, it will give me a warning and say one wall selected, one wall filtered out because they are not editable. Why they're not editable? I guess it is pretty much consistent with what we said, that of course we cannot edit the wall because they are locked or not updated. And that, of course, the intuition behind this goes also into many places into the software, where with just with just the update of our with just a little update here, you will see that. And that's also maybe for a user that never noticed that this gets bold letters, and the bold letters mean that there is something that is not updated in the system. So everybody gets connected at all times. You can generate your subdrawings all together from the subdrawing list. You can plot them, and then of course it will be extremely easy to also open your DVGs inside here, or of course into an external DVG viewer. So people who don't need to have AutoCAD in the computer, they can always open the drawings, and that satisfies the criteria for the BIM modeling, right? And again, this is just a small part of it. I think the concept of this is so you understand that in reality, when we reach the level that we have the system implemented in the company, that we have the standards made, that we have the walls made, everything else is just a press of a button, basically, when it comes to changes and things that are actually costing us a lot of time. We can save this time using a software that it is intuitive. And even though it is CAD, yes, it is CAD, but CAD is CAD based. We don't have the same possibilities in Revit. We don't have the same possibilities in Tekla, right? So in cases like that, a CAD-based software might help us a lot with efficiency. Um, yeah, and that's again what I believe and what I see in the industry going on. One last thing that I want to show you before I let you go. Again, this is just a summary webinar, but the last thing I want to show you and I want to mention is, of course, this is just one floor, and a lot of times we want to have those walls and move them to the second floor or the third floor. This is again extremely easy to create a base layout, a base floor, a base thing that we can just correct afterwards. If we just select the first floor, we say copy elements and element marks, we raise the element marks by 100 or by 200, depends on the floor that you want, and then you can also copy the subdrawings and just say copy to create those new walls on floor number 2. Of course, it's a lot of data, right? And you can see that. Of course, now the connections and stuff, they are not really made, right? We have the walls, we have the layout, the connections, how the bottom of this wall will be added and how it will be connected with the wall underneath is not really made, right? And I will have those made for the next webinar, of course, so the walls look a little bit better. So we have a little bit of model to use for the production part of the webinar. But again, what I want to see now and show you is that um, we actually go to my AutoCAD and I can just now generate my whole building and all of my floors, right? And say all elements and press OK. Then you will see here the magic happens and generate the second floor on top of the first. And that's how it looks. Again, you don't see many changes here, but you can see the beam modeling and how easy it is to create those details, especially when you have a finished floor that you can apply. Now you don't want this wall and you don't want this wall because this is going to be replaced by a wall that it will be different size or something like that. Then of course you can always delete those walls and draw your walls. How you will do that? Of course, now this is a 3D model. This includes both floors. What you can usually do is, of course, go to your floor plans again, generate your new drawing, call it GA0102, say OK, and then say that this is going to be my second floor, say OK. And in my second floor, I can just open my drawing for the second floor, the GA1, G2, generate my walls. I don't even need the floor layout anymore. Floor, building 1, floor 2, say OK. Generate the walls with the custom materials in full 3D, same as before. Yes, and that will lead to, you will see now they are also on a different elevation, right? The elevation here is not on the 0 or on the 15 millimeters above the ground floor, is 2, 6, 15 or something, is one floor above. And then you can use your 2D and of course select your walls, say double click, go to your properties and add it. They have different element marks and you can add your bottom end cap. You can also connect the walls horizontally and vertically, and you can do many different things that will help you adjust your connections. Here you see there are some window end caps and some other type of end caps and a lot of connections between the different um, edge details and how it looks. Say okay, and then exit and save, and that will of course use the existing element mark and that will apply the walls here. Then you can open the subdrawing. The subdrawing is already generated because it copied the previous subdrawing, and the only thing you just have to do is update the new subdrawing with the new details that we just made. And now this is how the new subdrawing looks with the down end cap, the bottom end cap, and the rest is just a matter of course, setup and how it should look. Well, this is a very quick and a very useful, for me at least, webinar. This shows you the interconnectivity while I'm updating also here between the different levels inside impact, the elevation, the floor plan, the subdrawing, and it will and for sure, if I cannot convince you, then I think this can convince you that you can actually save time. It is possible. It doesn't matter how complicated the elements are. It is possible to save the time between correcting subdrawings, floor plans, um, and elevation drawings, especially when it comes to the sandwich walls. Well, this is it for me. My plan is for the next month to have a presentation when it comes to impact production, and we can also discuss how we can increase or use the full potential of our capacity in the factory, both when it comes to transport planning and, of course, production planning in the factory. Yeah, this was for me. Thank you so much for being here in a summer day. Not so much summer here in Denmark, but I wish you all a great summer vacation when you come to it. If you are watching this as a recording, then thank you so much for staying with me. Um, and of course, I will see you all in a month from now in the next webinar when it comes to production. Thank you so much. Have a great day and see you soon.